Stadium Studios. We did a live show last night. And first of all, Chicago is a ghost town, Bob. Nobody on the streets. Wow. My hotel, I'm telling you, I have the entire floor to myself in a Marriott Magnificent Mile, which I come to all the time. It's usually jam-packed.
Yep.
There's nobody walking outside. There's nothing going on. It's incredible right now.
It's frightening. I have not been to downtown Boston in how many months. I have no idea what that looks like. I keep reading about New York and about, how desperate Times Square is frighteningly empty. I can't imagine. No, it's scary. It's scary.
I took my first flight and it was Southwest. And usually, you pay for the upgrade to get on Southwest earlier, right?
Yes.
To be able to board earlier. So I paid for that. And then I said to myself, I didn't need to pay for it because ultimately I got on the flight. And the first thing I did was go to the way back and just prayed that nobody was going to sit near me. It wasn't a full flight. It was like half full. And luckily I had nobody within 2 rows front, 2 rows back. I had taken a PCR test before I left in Boston.
Yeah.
And they said I took it Saturday morning and I needed it back in order to go into the studio here in Chicago. So I took the PCR test. They said 24 to 72 hours. I got on the flight Tuesday afternoon. They still hadn't gotten the results. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So I talked to the owner of the place, and when I landed, still hadn't gotten back the results. He set me up. It's part of a network. He said, drive to Willowbrook or something when you land at Midway. Drove the opposite way about 20, 25 minutes. Took a rapid PCR test that, how long it took, Bob?
30 seconds.
Minutes. 15 minutes.
Okay.
And luckily I was negative. So good to go. And, but anyway, some anxiety a little bit flying, but it wasn't bad. I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing it over and over and over.
Yeah.
But wore a double mask and didn't sit next to anybody and haven't seen anybody in this hotel. I mean, legitimately, not one person other than the workers at the hotel. Not one.
Jeez. Can't imagine.
Yeah. So
well,
anyway. All right, let's get on to more impactful things within the NBA, and that is the NBA draft. I've been following this for years and years. It's kind of something that is kind of dear to my heart, and something that when I was able to be on the ESPN broadcast for 3-4 years in a row, one of the coolest things I've ever done for ESPN. Last night's NBA draft wasn't as crazy as I thought it might be, I guess. But as we talked about, there was no guy that you were going to trade up for. There was nobody that people absolutely loved at the top that you were going to see a lot of movement for. Those teams that had the top picks probably valued him more than the other teams. So there just wasn't a lot of movement. The biggest news really came prior to the draft when it was announced, not even announced, it kind of swirled around Twitter, that Klay Thompson may have suffered a season-ending Achilles injury. That was honestly the biggest news of the entire day, wasn't it, Bob?
Yes, it was. That shook everybody up, and we're waiting to get the MRI results and talking now. If it is Achilles, oh boy, let's hope not. No, that was the news. I did watch the draft while having a little homework of 3 separate mock drafts, all 1 to 30, and I was going to see how it worked out. And of course, everybody had the same 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Everybody had the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it didn't work out that way. 1, 2, and 3, it was just a matter of who was going to we knew who they were going to be. The consensus number 4 was Denny Avdija.
Yep.
The consensus number 5 was Obi Toppin.
Yep.
And I'll say so Avdija, slid to 9.
He did.
And after doing my little homework on him, I wondered out loud in my tweet, did the Wizards just steal the draft?
Well, listen, we won't know for a while.
No, of course not.
As is the case with all of these drafts. We we make our quick assumptions. I've seen a lot of these kids play for a long time. I have not seen Deni Avdija play in person. I've heard from several people, including Scotty Wilbekin, former Florida star, who has played with him in Maccabi Tel Aviv and speaks highly of his work ethic. You can see he's a versatile player. The thing I've said is I don't think there's a star at the top of this draft. I don't have confidence that Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, or James Wiseman are going to be stars in this league. I think the star will come from somebody else further down. And my take is, why not an international guy? But for that many people to pass on Deni Avdija when this draft was so weak at the top did surprise me. Same thing with Obi Toppin, that he slid down to number 8 to the New York Knicks, surprised me. Tyrese Halliburton surprised me a little bit that he fell to Sacramento. But looking back on it now, I say, like, nothing should surprise me with this draft because, again, there was no clear-cut number 1.
No.
Anthony Edwards was probably the guy Minnesota had to go with because he fits with D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns. And you look at him and you say, hey, if he hits, Anthony Edwards has the ability, the natural ability, potentially to be a star. My question with Anthony Edwards, Bob, is he in the right franchise to be able to maximize his talent? Because I don't know if Anthony Edwards, like last year at Georgia on a losing team, it was a train wreck. And if Minnesota is a losing organization and one that doesn't have a lot of leadership around it, veteran leadership, I worry about Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, that's an interesting but. He was always a but with him all during the year. People knew he was going to have to go very high, maybe even go number 1. But it was this, I like him, but right?
Yes, 100%.
That's not a confidence building number 1. Now, Weissman, the team took him. That should have taken him, took him, in my opinion.
100%.
Right? For a fit fact.
It was the right move, whether or not you lose Klay Thompson for the year or not. I don't think that has any effect. James Wiseman's still a guy that will help Steph Curry, will help Andrew Wiggins. He can run, he can finish, he can block and alter shots. And even if he's not ready for a couple of years, he's still going to be a good NBA. I think I have more confidence that James Wiseman is going to be in the league in 10 years and productive than Anthony Edwards or LaMelo Ball.
Now, LaMelo, it's an interesting team because of the Zion factor.
And Bob, with LaMelo, Charlotte,
Michael Jordan factor.
Michael Jordan signed off on LaMelo Ball after watching how bad his shot mechanics are and how little he guards.
Yeah.
Does it shock you?
Well, there's Kwame Brown always comes to mind, but I'm serious.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
What has Michael done as an executive to get you excited ever? Right?
Nothing. Zero.
I mean, nothing.
You never see him out. Number 1, you never see him out. He hired Mitch Kupchak, whose track record isn't great. Like those guys generally aren't. Larry Bird as an executive was pretty good, actually, shockingly. I didn't ever see it. But Larry was never out either. He hired the right people underneath him. That's
the great thing about Danny Ainge, by the way.
He's out all the
time. Particularly internationally, he'll be, but he's out. Anyway, that's an interesting, we all got the scouting report on Melo and all right. The one that surprised me a little bit, simply because, Patrick Williams going to 4. Now, the highest projection of the 3 mocks that I had was 8. Then there was an 11.
I had him 7. I had him 7 to Detroit, but I tweeted out yesterday that there were strong indications that Chicago really, really liked Pat Williams. And I get it because, again, you're choosing between Obi Toppin, you're choosing between Deni Avdija and Pat Williams, and you're saying to yourself, hey, Pat Williams, we're Chicago. We're not getting big-time free agents right now. We got to swing. And we're going to swing on a guy that's 6'8", 225. He looks like Kawhi. He guards a little bit like Kawhi. His shot kind of looks like Kawhi's did when he came out of San Diego State. You know what? We're going to take a shot that maybe he's not Kawhi, but he becomes something like that in time because he is a worker, unbelievable character, IQ, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's honestly what Arturas Karnisovas and Billy Donovan. Listen, Billy Donovan had connections to Obi Toppin and to Denny Avdia. The connection with Obi Toppin was Anthony Grant, who he's known forever, coached with him in Florida, coached with him in Oklahoma City, is the head coach at Dayton.
Yep.
So he's got the best insight into Obi Toppin you could possibly have. Okay. And Billy also coached Scotty Wilbekin at Florida, who again played with Denny Avdia this whole season. So he talked to both those guys extensively. And Arturas Karnisovas and Billy Donovan decided to go in a different direction and go with Patrick Williams. Surprising, yes. I think at the end of the day, it's probably going to be the right move because the Bulls have a bunch of good players. They need a great player. And I think they're feeling like, you know what, let's swing and see if we can hit a home run here instead of hitting a ground rule double.
I'm going to go parochial now. The Celtics, they did it.
Yeah.
They drafted a need. They drafted for a need, and the guy that they had to be praying, well, if we really get lucky, right?
Yeah.
If we really get lucky, Aaron Nesmith will be sitting there for us.
Yeah.
And damn it, if they got lucky. And they have him.
Nesmith is a guy who can really, really shoot it, Bob. He only played 14 or 15 games last year at Vandy, but he shot 52%. He's got good size. And I think the best part also of Aaron Nesmith is I believe Vandy was 8-6 with him and 3-15 without him. So he impacts winning. He can shoot it. And as you and I talked about, and I can't wait to ask Brad Stevens this next week when we talk to him, hopefully on Monday. Think of the smile that Brad Stevens probably had on his face when he looked at Aaron Nesmith's stats and saw he shot 52% from three.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, really.
We're going to yell at Brad for letting Daniel Tice, jack 3 after 3 a little bit when we talk to him. Maybe not yell at him, but I don't know what you're going to do. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm going to put you in the spot next week with Brad and how trigger happy he is with the 3. And we're going to have a little fun with that.
Yeah, we will. We will.
I just think this is the guy they needed. Now, again, does it solve their major issues? No, they still need a guy who can score in that second unit off the bounce, a veteran. They still also maybe need to upgrade their front court if they could, but at what expense? We'll see what happens here in the next few days.
Yeah.
If Danny Ainge can make a move or not.
Well, I think they definitely are in the market for that type of player, and I will be surprised if they don't find someone of that nature. I think that's definitely the case.
Who won the draft, Bob?
I'm not.
Who do you like? Who do you like what they did here? I'll start with one. I like, and I generally am not a big fan of this guy and what he's done because he's a numbers guy. But I like what Daryl Morey did in Philly.
Oh,
they got rid of Al Horford's contract, 3 years, $69 million. They got rid of that. Elton Brand kind of screwed up this team, to be honest. He took over and he made some bad moves that didn't fit this group and how they could play. So got rid of Horford and his deal. It cost them a first-round pick and whatnot. They also got rid of Josh Richardson, who didn't fit. And what they added is Danny Green, who can space the floor and guard and shoot the hell out of it. Seth Curry, who can shoot the hell out of it. A young guy in Terrence Ferguson. And they also added Tyrese Maxey, who's a scorer off the bench in late in the first round. They got him at 21. And I love the guy they got at 49, to be honest. Isaiah Joe is his name. He's 6'6". He's super skinny, but he shoots the absolute hell out of the basketball, Bob. So they put together, at least they're adding the right pieces, and they got out from underneath Al Horford's contract.
Is Isaiah Joe, is he Brandon Ingram skinny? How skinny? He
might even be skinnier.
Yes.
He's that. But he can shoot. He really
how about Doc?
Yeah.
couple years removed from coaching his son, is now going to be coaching his son-in-law.
I love it. I love it.
I can't
What
wait
is
to
he
talk to him.
doing? How do you coach your son-in-law? Like,
I can't wait to talk to him. You know who he can call for advice on how to handle that?
go ahead.
Tom Coughlin. He coached his son-in-law with the Giants, Snead, a guard,
Really?
for years.
Really?
Yeah.
My guess is Tom Coughlin didn't change a damn thing coaching his son-in-law. Where Doc's going to be a little bit nicer to say.
This is just hilarious to me.
Yes,
yes. That I thought it was a bad deal. I didn't like the idea of him coaching his son in the professionals at all.
No, me either.
I don't like it at any level. I don't even like it in high school.
Especially because Doc he didn't have that, and Austin will say this, he didn't have this relationship. They hadn't been together. Doc had obviously been traveling a lot, been away from the family. So it wasn't like they had the greatest relationship. It got a lot better, actually, through Doc coaching him. So I think it ended up working out well because they became closer, but I'm with you. And Doc had always told me he didn't want to coach Austin.
Yeah, I was really surprised when that happened. But anyway, he's now got Seth. And by the way, people, Seth Curry's an underappreciated asset.
Oh, because you can shoot it.
In the public eye. He's always going to be, I equate it, the Mike Maddox to Greg Maddox, right? But he's a little better than that.
Right.
He's really come on. He's found his niche. I think he's an ideal guy for them. We know they need floor spacing. We know, and for two reasons. One is Embiid, and the other, of course, is Ben Simmons's peculiar game. But I think Daryl Morey's off to a tremendous start in Philly.
They did a good job. I mean, again, getting rid of Al Horford's contract right there, and Josh admitting. Well, he didn't have to admit it because he didn't make the moves, but admitting that they made some mistakes and they weren't constructed correctly. At least now, if you surround Ben Simmons with enough shooters, you stand a chance. But if you didn't, and again, the problem was not only offensively, but defensively. How are you playing Al Horford, Joel Embiid, and Tobias Harris together?
Yeah.
You're not. It didn't fit. It was a dumb move. Anyway, all right. So I like Philly. We agree Patrick Williams was one of the bigger surprises. Actually, here's the biggest winner. You want to know the biggest winner of the draft?
Sure, tell me.
I'm going to tell you the biggest winner. Luke Kennard is the biggest winner of this draft. You know why? He went from Detroit to the Clippers, Bob. Imagine you're in Detroit. Detroit might have one of the worst rosters in the NBA. I mean, clearly they have nobody. Like Blake Griffin is damaged goods. He's been out. They have nobody. They actually did a good job with their draft, but they traded Luke Kennard in a three-way deal that brought Landry Shamet to Brooklyn and gave Detroit the number 19 pick, and number 19 pick ended up being Sadiq Bey. So Detroit did well on this draft too. Troy Weaver, their new GM, got Jillian Hayes, with point guard out of France, with the number 7 pick. Isaiah Stewart, hard playing, high character, big man. You'd love him.
I saw him early on last year and definitely put him on my list. Yeah. I like him. He's
a throwback. He's not a new age big man, but he's tough. And then they get Sadiq Bey in place of Luke Kennard, and Sadiq Bey can not only shoot it, maybe not quite as well as Kennard, but he can defend. So I really like what Detroit did here in Troy Weaver. How about this one? So we go back to Charlotte for a second, and they took LaMelo. What do you think, poor Terry Rozier? We need to get Terry Rozier on this podcast. What do you think he's thinking right now?
Yeah, I know.
I got to play with that dude?
Yep, I know. It's funny because look at his career. He's been, rear-ended, if you will,
everywhere
a couple times, right?
Right.
So,
yeah. I mean, he had a small window, right?
Yeah. So
when Kyrie got hurt.
That's very interesting. I'm going to ask you about a guy, what you think of him. Cole Anthony.
All right. So I say Cole Anthony is Austin Rivers, and Orlando took him at number 15, and Orlando does need they've needed a point guard for forever. I don't think Cole Anthony is really a point guard. I don't think he makes people better. He's a high volume, low efficiency guy, much like Austin Rivers. They both are sons of former NBA players who
Yep.
both think they're the best player in the court, which is great on one end, Bob. You need to have that swagger. But when they get to the NBA,
Yeah.
it took Austin Rivers some time to realize I'm not the best player on the court. I need to accept my role and embrace my role. Cole Anthony has always been the best player, at least for the last few years, on his team. Now, he was the best player on an awful North Carolina team last year. But again, doesn't make people better, doesn't shoot it well from the perimeter, not a great defender, not a great athlete. I just feel like Cole Anthony is a good backup kind of scoring guard that you can call a point, whatever he is, a combo guard for the second unit. That's what, to me, Cole Anthony is going to be.
What was I going to say here? I just had one. Oh, you know who I think is the luckiest among the luckier guys in this draft that he should be smiling ear to ear today? Precious Achiuwa going to Miami.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's a wonderful spot for him. I can see Donis Haslem probably take him out to dinner tonight, start the ball rolling there. But you know, that organization is somebody as you know, it's really sound. The coach is terrific. They got direction with Pat, and they're coming off a very interesting season. And I think he really is going to be a nice fit for them. He's
similar to Bam Adebayo. He is. They're similar, which is fine. Like, you know, sometimes you worry too much about like a fit, where they fit in right now. And what we forget about is a lot of these guys, like Bam Adebayo, when his contract is up, he might get paid more to go somewhere else. And you want to have that next guy. And that next guy could be Precious Achiuwa. And Bam Adebayo can't play, you know, he plays 35 minutes a game. Well, you still got 20 minutes there, 15, 20 minutes that you can play Precious Achiuwa and develop him. I love the pick of San Antonio, Devin Vassell. We talked about him, I think, a little bit last week. 3-and-D guy, can really shoot it, can guard. That was one of, to me, the better picks in this draft. I'm trying to think who else was a winner in this draft. Philly, to me, again, I thought maybe the biggest surprise of the draft, in my opinion, might have been James Jones, again, from Phoenix. Last year, he took Cam Johnson early out of Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
This year,
Jalen Smith.
Yeah, Jalen Smith, who was supposed to go, according to most people, somewhere in the 20 range. And really, a lot of people had him a couple months ago going like 20 to 30. And he's a combo forward that actually fits in well. Think about it. You got the Chris Paul trade, Bob. So you got Devin Booker and Chris Paul. You got DeAndre Ayton up front. And now you add a guy in Sticks, Jalen Smith, who's kind of that combo forward, live body, can get up and down the court, can rebound some, can step out. I thought it was a solid pick. Just, again, one of those surprise picks.
Well, yeah. And my three mocks here, he was 20, 22, and 24.
Right.
On my mocks.
So James Jones doesn't care about anybody's mock. That's what.
No, I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah.
By the way, but the overall prognostication of people was almost 100%. It's 90 in the 90s. There's very few guys that showed up on the three mocks who didn't get picked at all in the first round. They really, people, you know, the names were all there. They're right, just right down to the end. So, you know, that's just interesting. By the way, have you done the old, let's see what conferences did well and didn't do well?
I have not done that at all.
Well, this is not a complete list, but surprisingly, the Pac-12 had 6.
Wow.
And the SEC 6.
Yep.
But not so hot for the ACC this year. Although Florida State's in it, you never remember, you know, because you think ACC, you think Duke and Carolina, you know, and Maryland. But of course, that famous Duke, the Blue Bloods, Duke, Kentucky, Kansas. This was not a year for them, that's for sure.
That was the crazy thing. I tweeted
no Duke player in the first round.
No Duke player in the first round. Vernon Carey went 32nd. No Duke or Kentucky player in the lottery.
Yeah.
That's kind of insane. I mean, that hasn't happened very often since Calipari got to Kentucky. Even when he was at Memphis with Derrick Rose, that's kind of when the whole thing started between Cal and K. You know, every year they were having a lottery pick. So that was surprising this year. What
Also,
about the Knicks? What do you think of the Knicks? So here's
well,
an interesting component to the Knicks.
okay.
Leon Rose worked at CAA. He is now running the Knicks along with William Wesley, who's kind of I don't even know how to describe him.
Yeah, I know World Wide West. Yes,
Right. He's a John Calipari buddy from Camden. He helped get DeJuan Wagner to Memphis. Anyway, so they take Obi Toppin at number 8, which is interesting because Obi Toppin signed with CAA. And the other interesting part of this is Obi Toppin's younger brother transferred to Kentucky from Rhode Island.
Oh.
So there's all sorts of World Wide West, Leon Rose, CAA connections. And then the Knicks later on in the draft, who do they draft? Emmanuel Quickley from Kentucky. So I feel like, I don't know if this is good or bad. If they've got really good info, here's my problem with Obi Toppin at the Knicks. They already have Julius Randle, and they're not the same player, but they're kind of the same position. And I don't know if you could play them together that well. I get it. Obi Toppin fell and they couldn't pass on him at 8. But you've still got the trio of point guards of Dennis Smith, Elfrid Payton, and Frank Ntilikina. Like, that's a bad trio.
No, they won't all be there. We're not, if any of them.
They're probably going to, listen, if I'm the Knicks, do I overpay for Fred VanVleet?
Yeah. They're talking max. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I wouldn't give him max. I would not give Fred VanVleet max money. But if I could steal him, and I don't know if it's stealing him, for like $20 million a year, if I'm the Knicks, I might do it. I just feel like, yes, the Knicks are going to get a little better over the next couple of years, but I don't trust this regime to get it. Anybody who James Dolan hires, I don't trust. I don't think.
I know.
I just don't think they're going to know what they're doing.
You know how I feel about Obi. I called him the comfort food pick.
Yeah.
When last we met.
Fair.
He's solid. He's going to be ready to play as any of the top 8. I think, frankly, and he's going to be ready to go. Jillian Hayes won at 7.
Yep.
That's about. Yeah, that's as high as anybody had predicted. As a matter of fact, the USA guy had him picked at 7 and gave him to Detroit.
Yep.
So we'll see about him. I'm curious about him. Just like anybody else that.
What about?
Can you tell me about Najee?
Yeah, like love Zeke Najee as a kid. It's funny. Zeke Najee, when he was in high school, he'll admit this, he didn't play hard. That was a big knock on him. That's why he was never like a McDonald's All-American type player. When he got to Arizona, he started playing really, really hard. And they got RJ Hampton at 24, the kid who was going to go to Kansas, ends up going and playing in New Zealand for the Breakers. He's 6'5", he's long. He needs to get some weight on him, and he needs to get his perimeter shot better, but he worked with Mike Miller the last couple months. Mm-hmm. I think the Nuggets, I really trust the Nuggets. And now again, Bol I didn't love, but they took him in like the 40s last year. Who cared? Mm-hmm. They took Michael Porter. They've done a really good job. You look at how they've done it in Denver, and you got to give them credit for how they built that organization. So I trust Zeke Najee is a guy you don't run anything for, but he just goes and rebounds and defends and runs the court. And RJ Hampton is worth it at 24. I never thought he was a lottery pick, Bob, but at 24, there's value there.
Okay. Do you have a guy that you just like and
yes,
you want to,
yes,
you're happy for?
Yes.
Who?
Big Doke. Udoka Azubuike.
Oh, okay.
Is a man-child, one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. He went to Utah at 27. Nobody had him going in the first round. Nobody. That's your one. If you look at every mock draft, I bet you won't find a single one that had Big Dope going at 27. He has got numerous injuries throughout his college career. Didn't even want to be at Kansas this past year. He wanted to leave after his junior year, but he got a wrist injury or a hand injury where he had to come back. And he lost like 30 pounds, Bob. He was huge. Still huge, but he was like huge. And he's an elite defender as a big. Like, you could switch with him, and he's more skilled than you think. And he is just like a salt of the earth, sweetest kid you will ever meet. So for me, it's Big Doke. I was so happy last night when he got drafted. And there's a lot of these kids. Honestly, like I interviewed a lot of these kids over the course of their, whether it's AAU, college, pre-drafts, and James Wiseman, sweet. Patrick Williams, great kid. Devin Vassell, great kid. Onyeka Okongwu, oh my God, his story with losing his brother a couple years ago, unbelievable. So a lot of these kids, I felt bad in a way that they didn't have the typical NBA draft experience.
Yeah.
But I think for the viewer, and I don't know, you probably watched the telecast. I was doing something at Stadium, so I didn't watch it. But my guess is, because I watched the NFL draft one, it was kind of cool to see them with their families in their living rooms instead of necessarily the same cookie cutter thing where they're sitting at a table in a green room, which isn't even a green room, and they walk up and they shake Adam Silver's hand. I don't know.
It was nice, but most of it was the same thing. They were sitting on a couch, surrounded by the family, and you know, they had to reach for the hat in the box. They got the hat, and a couple kids were really weeping. You know, the usual. You know, all right.
Thanksgiving and Black Friday may look a little different this year, but there's still a lot to be thankful for, like being able to find the right people for your team when the holiday rush has you ramping up your small business needs. So when you're ready to make that next hire, LinkedIn Jobs can help by matching your role with qualified candidates so you can find the right person for your business and do it fast. LinkedIn is an active community of professionals with more than 706 million members worldwide. Getting started is easier than ever with new features to help you find qualified candidates quickly. Post a job with targeted screening questions, and they'll quickly get your role in front of more qualified candidates. Manage job posts and contact candidates from a single view on the familiar LinkedIn.com as functions are streamlined onto one simple screen. And now you can do this all from your mobile device, no matter where the day takes you. That's how LinkedIn Jobs can help you hire the right person faster. When your business is ready to make that next hire, find the right person with LinkedIn Jobs. You can pay what you want and get the first $50 off. Just visit linkedin.com/good. Again, that's linkedin.com/good to get $50 off your first job post. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, here's my guy. Now, I don't know anything about him as a kid.
All right, who do you got?
I don't know what kind of kid he is.
I just
like this guy. I watched him play really 4 or 5 times, and that's Malachi Flynn.
Oh, love him.
I loved his game.
Oh, he's perfect for Toronto. Perfect.
And Toronto, come on. So I like that. I'm going to be watching that one with interest.
Well, Malachi, think about this. 2 years at Washington State. Nobody even knew who he was. He goes and does what a lot of people do, transfer to San Diego State because they love taking transfers, usually from the Pac-12. Sits out a year. Nobody thought he'd be as good last year. Matter of fact, about a year ago now, I was at Pac-12 Media Day in Vegas and sat down and talked to Malachi for a while. And I knew he was going to be good, but I didn't think he was going to be that good. And I did a San Diego State game early last season, and I was blown away by the fact that he did everything. He scored, he distributes, he guards, he's got that chip on his shoulder.
Yeah,
That's why
an
he
edge.
fits Toronto. That's why he fits. Kyle Lowry is, I believe, an unrestricted free agent. If not, he's getting older anyway. And if they can't keep Fred VanVleet, if they can't afford him, they got to have somebody else coming in. And I think Malachi Flynn could be that next guy with Toronto. So another guy you got to trust is Masai Ujiri and the job he's done, evaluating, trading, whatnot. So, that's part of it. I think you feel like there's certain guys who get it drafting, and there's certain guys that you just, no matter who they draft, you're like,
Yeah.
Now, we got a lot of new GMs right now. How about the kid Sam Presti to Oklahoma City, Alexei Pokuševski?
Yeah, right.
Bob, he's 7 feet. He's about 195 pounds.
Oh,
Serbian, super skilled. But Sam Presti, loving. He's just stockpiling picks right now and international guys, which is no surprise because he did that when he was with San Antonio, coming up through that organization.
Yeah.
So Pokashevsky will watch and see what he can do, if anything, here, for a long time. Head scratchers, Tyrese Halliburton, a little bit of a head scratcher. Sacramento, I knew he got to them when nobody thought he'd get to them at number 12, but they've got De'Aaron Fox. And Halliburton, his percentages are good shooting the ball, but his release is really, really slow. And one of the reasons why I think a lot of people passed on Halliburton is they don't know if they envision him as a top tier point guard. He's thin. He's not super athletic. So can you pair him with De'Aaron Fox and play them together? Maybe, or maybe they don't love De'Aaron Fox. Maybe that he didn't have a great year this past season in Sacramento. So maybe the new regime in Sacramento wants to maybe make a move and evaluate whether Fox is their point guard of the future, or they go with a guy like Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, but you're right. He was something of a slipper, for sure.
You know whose future could be affected by the draft is Lonzo Ball's in New Orleans. Remember they just traded for Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah, they got Lewis. Yeah,
and they got Kyra Lewis.
Yeah,
Kyra Lewis is a blur.
Right, he's supposed to be the fastest guy in the draft, right?
Yes. So what do you do with Lonzo Ball? What's your take on Lonzo?
He's going to be around. He can, we know he can pass the ball. I'm just not crazy about him. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just not.
Why? Because he can't shoot it?
Well,
or is it just because of the dad?
Yeah, I know. The thing is, and I know and we've talked about this. Yeah. He seems to have sidestepped the dad thing quite well.
He has.
Publicly and privately with the teammates and all that.
I just think it's amazing to me. Okay, so you've got Lonzo over here who's got an innate passing ability and court vision, and he does everything simple, right? We agree. He does it. He doesn't do it as flashy. It's move the ball when you need to move it, make the right decisions. Not a great shooter. Mechanics were terrible. They worked on those, but Lonzo can guard. And then you got LaMelo over here. And LaMelo has some of the same intangibles in terms of pass and court vision. He does it differently, more flashy, where Lonzo, I think, realizes he's not a great shooter and doesn't shoot all the time. LaMelo thinks he's a great shooter and shoots all the time, and his form is equally as abysmal. And you got Lonzo, like I said, who can guard, and LaMelo has no desire to guard. So why would people think that LaMelo is going to be better than Lonzo, who at least Lonzo had to work, I think, for what he got a lot harder than LaMelo, who's the youngest child, and I've been around that family. He's the young, spoiled one, the entitled one, given a Lamborghini at 16. He's been part of the whole reality show that is the Ball family since he was a lot younger than Lonzo. Lonzo was already established by the time the country got to know who LeVar was. So I, Bob, have a lot more confidence in Lonzo than I do in LaMelo.
Their whole presence in the mix is just so annoying. And it's not fair to the kids. It's about, it's still about him.
It's not.
And I'm saying, I know. I'm going to go there. But the idea, now that his son is going to go to Charlotte, is he going to challenge Michael to a one-on-one? You think or not?
Does anybody want to see that? Not one person in America. I mean, that's the greatest part of this draft, honestly. And I didn't watch it. I was doing my own thing here, but I don't think LeVar got any real play in this thing. No. I think ESPN figured out after, and I was part of it. I was a big part of it in Lithuania. I think they figured out after that, listen, you know what? We're pretty much done with the LeVar show. We're done. And most people followed suit. I didn't see a lot of LeVar. I didn't hear a lot of LeVar leading up to this draft. So I think most people figured, you know what? You had your 10 minutes of fame, and let's concentrate on your kids now. And the only thing I'll defend LeVar for, here's the only thing I'll defend LeVar for. He didn't seek out the attention to me, ever. He wasn't calling me for the attention, but he would welcome it when anybody called him.
I guess he figured it was going to come sooner or later, I guess.
It did. It came and it kept coming. It kept coming. What
but
else?
Overall, this draft wasn't sexy. Obviously, the people. You have to be a really good fan to know.
Let's go back to where we started, Bob. Let's kind of finish off with where we started,
right.
which was Klay Thompson. And if Klay Thompson is done for the season, and he's getting up there a little bit. I don't know how old Klay is, but he's got to be in his early 30s at this point. Maybe 33. I would guess. Let's see. How old is Klay? Klay is. I'll tell you in a sec here.
Okay.
What does this do? Is this the end for Golden State being able to win NBA titles? He's 30 years old, but he's coming off a knee injury to one leg and now an Achilles to the other. Those are two tough things to come back from.
All right. Until last night, and then we heard the news. I had projected them right back as a superior team, as a threat to the Lakers, as it wouldn't remotely surprise me if we were talking about them having made the entire transformation in a year from now, that we'd be talking about them as the defending champions. Wouldn't have shocked me.
That's right.
Well, without him, no. I mean, now we're talking a 6, 7, 8 seed, something, 8, right. I don't know. They're still going to have assets, and starting with Steph, but no, I mean, he's important. You can't or overrate how good a player is. He's good. He's the guy that had the 37-point quarter. He's the guy that had the 60-point game when he dribbled the ball about 5 times. I mean, this guy is a tremendous shooter, and they are the greatest shooting backcourt of all time. Nobody can remotely argue otherwise.
And where now, Bob? Where is your shooting coming from other than Steph? Draymond can't shoot it. We know that.
No, he'll
Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins. Now, the problem is Andrew Wiggins was set to be your 4th guy.
Yeah.
Now you have to have Andrew Wiggins, and we've seen that play out before.
Right.
If you need Andrew Wiggins, you're in trouble. If he's an ancillary part that, whatever you get from him is a bonus, but there's no pressure, no expectations on him, that's great, and that's what it should have been this year. Now you need him, and that scares the hell out of me.
Not positively agree with that. I mean, he is. You got to have him in the right slot, and when you got to bump him up, it's not going to work. So no, they're not a threat now. They're a decent team, but they're not.
It sucks. It's all right. The other one that's gotten a lot of play this week is James Harden to join your buddy and mine, Kyrie, in Brooklyn. What do you think of this, Bob?
I just don't see I mean, now you're talking another ball dominant guy. I just don't see it. Of course it was one thing with Westbrook, but this is a whole other matter. There's Kyrie has no use from this earth if he doesn't have the ball. And Harden, we talked about Harden with Stephen Silas, what it was like to coach again. Speaking of which, our boy Stephen Silas, woo! What a baptism of fire, huh?
Things change quickly, don't they?
Whoa! It's amazing. But it would be, and I'm no fan of Harden's. I grudgingly admit you can't laugh off 3 scoring titles in a row and the stuff he does. But is it enough to? It hasn't been enough to get them to the promised land. But it's just so reflective of. Well, obviously he wants out. Obviously he's not happy. Obviously he's declared it over for him in his mind in Houston. I'll bring him on in our division. Have it the hell. It'll be fun. You remember Joe Tsai, he's got all the money in the world. He wants to win. He's fearless.
That he is.
And I
got
respect for Sean Marks. I think he knows what he's doing. So I have to give him the benefit of the doubt if he thinks it would work.
Kyrie wanted his own team not long ago. Now he'll be the 3rd option. Like, how is that going to work?
See,
for
Duncan will be fine with either one of them, right? But I mean, Durant got the wrong D. He'll be fine with either one of them. But the other two together, I just don't see how that makes any sense to me.
It'll be interesting. And then they're going to have to figure out, like, what about like Spencer Dinwiddie? Like, how's he going to get in the court? I mean, they got a lot of young
if they
talent.
get Harden, they're going to have to give up.
Right. Dinwiddie.
He won't. It'll be Levert, Dinwiddie, and on and on and on and on.
Aaron Allen, they'll all be gone.
Yeah. So it won't. That won't be. No, he won't be there.
It'll be fun. Listen, the one thing I'll say is, Bob, one of the beauties of the current day NBA is the personalities in these super teams. Whether we hate them or not, there's something to talk about. There's something to follow, especially this one. Like the one with Steph and Klay and KD, we were like Steph's the easiest guy ever to play with, ever. And Klay, the same thing. Those personalities, they're going to be able to deal with whoever comes in. It doesn't matter. They've dealt with Draymond. They dealt with KD, obviously. But the Kyrie, the new KD, and Harden is a completely different ballgame when it comes to personalities and egos. And I know KD played with Harden, but he played with him early in Harden's career. It's a different James Harden now. It's a different KD now.
Totally. It's not even the dynamics will be totally different.
Exactly.
And and KD is grown up before our very eyes and turned out to be a very forceful personality.
He's totally changed.
At first we thought he was a nice, sweet kid with the backpack in the Bible, right?
Yes.
Well, those days are long gone.
KD was like the most mild-mannered kid when I first met him and throughout. I mean, I remember texting him in the early days of Twitter. He signed an extension with Oklahoma City, and he literally, all he did was tweet out something like, I remember I was at LeBron's camp, and he tweeted it out, like, happy to stay at Oklahoma. That's how it broke. He just like tweeted out some random tweet, and I called him right after, and I'm like, Kevin, did you just tweet out, like, are you staying in? He's like, yeah, that's how I did it. Like, no thought of like, I want to tell the world, like, I'm going to have a press conference. I'm going to make it into this big thing. There was like this one little tweet and I'm done with it. And again, we've talked about this before, but I think everything changed with Kevin Durant when he left Oklahoma City to go to Golden State and became the most hated man.
He was shocked to find out that the world didn't think it was a wonderful thing.
Exactly.
He had no anticipation of the pushback he was going to get.
Yes.
At all. And it's still, it's fueled him somehow, some way forever.
Yeah.
Since this point. Oh no, that'd be part of me wants to see it happen, just to find out what the
fireworks. Oh, I totally want to see it. Come on, so, we need that. We need that in the East, and Milwaukee's trying to ramp it up here for Giannis and give him more help. To try to keep him. That's fun. Last thing before we let you go, and should Danny Ainge trade Gordon Hayward or Kemba Walker? What should he do? If you're Danny Ainge, what are you trying to do here?
I just want to add. I don't want to get rid of either one of them. And I certainly Walker for what? They were talking to Drew Holiday? I know that's been done. I understand.
Kemba's fee value is too low right now coming off the playoffs. Like, you don't trade a guy when their value is at its lowest. And I feel like Kemba's trade value right now is at its absolute lowest with the knee injury.
I just want to add, I want to bring in Neesmith. I want to see if they get a big man, maybe they get Aaron Baines back. I'd love to have him back, and go from there. Take my chances. I like
a veteran coming off the bench. If you could add, if I told you right now, you could add a scorer, a two guard who can put the ball on the floor and get you 10, 12, 15 points a game. And you got Aaron Neesmith coming off the bench also shooting the hell out of the ball. Are you okay with that team as long as, again, Hayward, Kemba, the keys there are their health?
Yes. We saw how Hayward, everything was going fine until he came down on somebody's foot.
Right.
Which could happen in your driveway. It happened. All right. They were good. And
they might have played in the
working. He was a perfect mesh with the two young forwards and with Walker. No, I want him. The one thing that I'll tell you right now, this is when over my dead body territory. Don't be telling me about any trade that involves Marcus Smart.
I'm with you.
I am
absolutely untradeable. To me, it goes like Jason Tatum 1. You cannot trade Jason Tatum for anybody on the planet, in my opinion. And Marcus Smart might be number 2 that I wouldn't trade based on his contract and his intangibles.
There's no facsimile. There's no comparison. There's nobody who does what he does, at least not to the extent that he does it and has the effect that he has on the, Patrick Beverly, is a little pest, but this is a 6'6" pest.
And he's gotten better in the offense.
Better. So no, I don't, my head would explode if they ever traded Marcus Smart.
Same.
That's my exit.
Yep.
Line.
I'm with you. I love him. Absolutely love him. All right. Well, listen, there you have it. Kind of draft recap with a little bit of, trade rumors in there, and hopefully Klay, hopefully people are wrong about it, but I don't see that happening. It just seems almost a foregone conclusion.
Wishing the best.
Listen to Bob Myers. It doesn't sound good for him and certainly for the Warriors this year. Hopefully next week we will have Brad Stevens.
We should.
Next week's edition of the Ryan and Goodman podcast. But thanks for jumping on with us again this week. And Bob, I'll hopefully next time.
Very good.
I'll be back in my house instead of a desolate Marriott here in Chicago.
All right. Very good.
All right.